Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Hello, it's Peace News. Welcome. We're live. It's November 4th, 2014. This Tuesday evening, it's 10 p.m. in Keene, in the Shire. I'm your host, Derek J. You can learn about me at derekj.me. Catch this show on video at peacenewsnow.com/live. You can also join in the chat room. Today, we've got, it's voting day. We might be talking about who won some elections. We'll also be talking with, hey, look. Hey, Jack, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
We're going to be talking with you about the Voluntaryists comic book that has a free download today at volcomic.com, volcomic.com. So let's get right into it. Since you're right here with us tonight, what's going on? Where are you broadcasting from?
I am broadcasting here from the southwest coast in Florida.
Are you safe? Have you been contacted by the federal government?
Have I been contacted by the federal government?
Yes. Are you safe?
Oh, no. Hold on, it just had a little bit of lag. Let me just see if...
Uh-oh. Okay, well, good. I hope that doesn't mean that you have been contacted by the federal government. I'm wearing my Edward Snowden shirt today.
Oh, nice. I like it.
My little political tribute. Those who are listening live can't hear the shirt, but you can see it's the... I forget what that blue and red popular Obama iconography was back during the '08 election. It sort of was like a throwback to Stalinist propaganda in my mind. I don't know. As an artist, do you have passionate feelings about some of the propaganda that the government puts out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that today, you get a lot less of the that type of what you're saying, the communist socialist kind of color banners. But I think, especially when the government uses their propaganda campaigns for military, they'll put stuff out there that says, the Navy, a global force for good, and they'll have a very big globalist perspective as to how they present things. So, trying to wean in that propaganda, yeah, I definitely see a lot of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. So this is obviously a little artistic play on what the government does. Tell me about your artistic play on what the governments are doing, or about this philosophy of voluntarism.
Sure. So specifically with Voluntaryists, the comic series, I kind of took the concept of voluntarism, which just is kind of the idea, if we were to sum it up, maximizing consent and minimizing the initiation of violence. So really, those two core tenets, to me, embody voluntarism. And I, wanted to take those concepts and kind of put them into a comic form, just because I've always loved comics and cosplay and things like that. And so having an opportunity to integrate it in a way that hasn't really been done before. You have some comics out there that will touch on libertarian tones, but nothing really puts it as the main line, as part of the main story.
So, who's the comic for?
The comic's for technically a general audience, but those who love liberty will probably enjoy it the most and get it the most. But it is one of those things that it's meant to be that you could follow it along just as a general reader, someone who's coming along just like any other comic series. So it really, as far as the action goes, as far as the characters go, there's nothing that is necessarily tied only to belief in liberty. It really is something that has its own storyline that you can follow as someone who just enjoys action stories or superhero stories.
So I've seen all kinds of comics and mags with liberty themes. They don't always look as professional as this. This looks like something that I would go into. I read comics as a teen and during my high school years, and I can see this. I could see this on the shelves. I'm doing a screen share for those who are watching at home at peacenewsnow.com/live. You can see at volcomic.com that there is some downloads that you can get. Tell me about that, Jack.
Sure. So the comics there that you see for download, every single issue that we fundraise for, and we do all of our fundraising through Indiegogo.com, eventually it gets a public release link, so it's out on PDF. So you can actually see the first issue and see the issue that was just released, the Voluntarists versus Statist Zombies, and you can download that, and it's at no cost to you. So there were costs involved, and there are extremely generous supporters who helped to make that happen. But the idea is that with every comic, after oops, sorry, I just got to adjust this, that after the main supporters have gotten their perks and gotten the sneak previews and the early releases, that eventually I want it to be something that everybody could see and follow along with, because the idea is to get the message of liberty out. It goes beyond just an insider's comic, an insider's kind of like gag book as far as comic books go. It's actually meant to have an appeal to anybody who just likes that genre of comics. And so I hope that people enjoy it just by, usually they'll come across my other YouTube channel, Jamie Kid 2, and then, come across it that way, or sometimes they'll be searching for something and the keywords strike right and it comes up. People search like a free downloadable comic, and so it kind of happens that people could come across it that way. So yeah, it's really just meant that as a means for people who just happen to like that kind of thing to check out Liberty as well.
How many are there in the series so far?
So far as completed issues go, that is, what's considered what I consider a whole issue, there are two. The first one, and then this Voluntaryists versus Statist Zombies. So there are two what I consider complete storylines, and of course there's more to come along, and there's a huge backstory there as well on the site. I wrote up what's nearly 100-page backstory to hopefully turn into a graphic novel one day. But yeah, there's character pages, there's background descriptions. It's pretty well fleshed out at this point because it's had several years behind it now of work and putting it together and fleshing things out. But it's still very fresh. So if you're just coming for the first time, it's a great time to come along because a lot of the stuff is there, and you can kind of catch up and see everything together.
Can you talk a little bit about the role that community played in the development of this project coming together?
Sure. Community. Just what do you mean by community? As in,
like the people that you worked with?
Oh, sure. I mean, community. First and foremost are those who love liberty. Friends who I've met and made over these years, who kind of supported through the crowdsourced fundraisers, absolutely the backbone to the series. If it wasn't for them supporting, if it wasn't for them helping to spread the word, this wouldn't have gotten anywhere because it's very expensive to make comics. It's a lot less expensive than making a movie, but it's still a pricey thing if you want to do it right. If you need to have the right talent and the right software and all that kind of stuff. So without that community, this wouldn't be here today. And there's been a good backbone of supporters that's helped to make that happen. And of course, I've worked with several different artists in the project throughout the course of time. Several anchors, letterers, and other types of graphic artists for different pieces. So there's been a lot of people who have worked on the project at some point. And for me, I do usually I'm doing layout, storyboard. The base layout for graphics, graphic design, logos, symbols, stuff like that, the website stuff. So I don't do any of like the hard like penciling and inking and colors, although I do sometimes do a little bit of flatting behind it. But it takes a lot of people to get a comic made.
Do you work with most of the others from a distance, or are they close to you?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, I worked with somebody out of New York, and the other person was, I think, in Guatemala. And then over time, I worked with people in Michigan, other people in other states and faraway places. So yeah, it's one of those things where that's a perfect example, I'd say, of the idea of free markets. Is being able to work with anybody really around the world and bring together a project. It's really amazing what you can do with people who just one person wants to exchange their services for money or something else, and you work together and make it happen. It's really cool now more than ever what a kind of a global free market can do.
Played a role in the creation of this project. when we return. Plus, we can take your calls. Dial in 443-424-8347. Gets you on the air. This is Peace News.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some...
All right, so is it off right now?
Yes. So I just muted the commercials. Welcome. I called you Jack because of Facebook. I apologize, Jamie.
It's okay. That's the character, Dave. It's perfectly fine. My name's Jamie. I go by Jamie Sherman. So yeah, no big deal at all. Because a lot of people will first come into contact through Jack Lloyd, the character page. So no big deal.
I appreciate that. Thank you for your forgiveness. We should have done a little back and forth before going live, but it was just like, boom, here we go. I'm still recovering from Keenvention, which was a convention happening here in Keene over the weekend. So, and then this thrift store just opened up in Keene, owned by Porcupine, members of the participants of the Free State Project, and it's pretty cool. So I've been very busy. So by the way, we stay on the air for YouTube, like what this is broadcasting, but the LRN.FM audience, those who are listening online, they cannot hear this. They're hearing commercials.
Okay, no big deal.
Yes. So typically, what I would do is play the commercials and put up a QR code up on the screen. But I want to download some of these issues here and see if I can put them up on the screen instead, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, of course. It's all out there, man.
All right, great. Let me do that. Here we go.
Goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm. Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. It's weusecoins.com.
Did you know that you can listen to LRN.FM 24/7 via our free-to-air satellite channel? From Mexico to Canada, our signal covers nearly all of North America. All you need is a view of the southern sky, an affordable receiver, and a dish as small as 30 inches. There are no monthly fees. Learn more at sat.lrn.fm. Plus, if you're a broadcaster or want to be one, this is a good delivery method for our content. See our coverage map and get details at sat.lrn.fm. That's sat.lrn.fm.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government, the real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the years has already happened.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
This is Peace News. Welcome back. I'm just checking on some of the election results locally here in Keene, and it turns out that David Crawford, running in Ward 1 here in Keene, got 229 votes. That's 29%. Good job, David. I don't know if that's enough to win, honestly, but good job. That's quite a lot. And Varen Swearingen, former president of the Free State Project, did not win. as Republican, running at large. I don't follow elections or stuff. Did you vote today, Jamie?
No, I didn't because I just sent in an absentee ballot a while ago, so I didn't have to do that today.
You voted.
What's that?
You voted, but not today.
Right, I voted just not today. Yeah.
You have a problem with voting? I know that's one of the things that divides some libertarians or voluntary people. Do you vote?
I just see it as the defensive thing. You know, I think Lysander Spooner talked a bit about this, but I just see it as a defensive measure. You know, you're trying to avoid having, you know, more than necessary stolen from you or, you know, taken from you. And, you know, any opportunity I can to mitigate those thefts, you know, I try to take. And, you know, we had the, what's it called, the second amendment, there was an amendment, but it's called Amendment 2. In Florida, and
you know, not to be confused with the Second Amendment.
Not to be confused with the Second Amendment. Yeah, the Amendment 2 was for medical marijuana, and they called it. Yeah, you know, obviously trying to get just pushing as much liberty as possible, but it appears they've called it that it didn't pass, but it's very close. I don't know. Maybe they'll say that there's something up with it, but.
Oh, I demand a recount.
Yeah, no, there really should be a recount for that because it stuck 57-43 for hours, and so I don't know. It's very suspect. There wasn't much fluctuation as they went precinct by precinct. So.
Well, that's kind of fun. That's a good reason to go out and vote. Unfortunately, it didn't change anything, and most people who smoke pot or buy pot are going to do it anyway. So, all right.
Yeah, I mean the main thing is Florida has such strict mandatory minimum laws. You know, and that's really tough. And of course very destructive for families and for people who are suffering from diseases. So anything, you know, that could possibly be done to help in the short term, you know, I'd try to support because, you know, it's a big deal. You know, people are being denied the care they need, and so kind of sad.
Well, the Associated Press is calling it for Maggie Hassan. She's the current governor of New Hampshire. It looks like she's been reelected. The people chose to prolong the drug war in New Hampshire. She is firmly on the side of throwing people in cages for possessing the wrong form of vegetables in their pockets. And, well, we'll just have to do more work on the ground, educating people about the harmlessness of such plants like cannabis. Anyway, it's good to see that we can try and make changes, but voting, using the system, I don't think that's a good way to do it. I prefer your way, Jamie. I prefer putting out culture changes, like putting out art and media and talking about the ideas of liberty, sharing them with people who may have not considered them before, or putting them in new ways that have never been said before. Because, you know, this old way of voting, that's definitely been done, and it hasn't really produced any freedom that I can see.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's not it's not a system that's built to encourage more freedom for sure. That's why the only way you're going to be able to win this battle of ideas in the end is by winning over minds. And the only way you're going to win over minds against the government's very long indoctrination camp it is to really get there and seep into the culture, whatever it is. And you got to reach people wherever they're at, and whatever hobbies they have, whatever passions they have, infusing liberty into that is paramount. Because if you don't reach people where they're at, you know, they may not be interested in it, not really even care about liberty. But when you can introduce it through something that they're familiar with or something that they actually do enjoy, it gives an opportunity to give them, you know, pause for thought, and it might actually plant some seeds that down the road can really help to mitigate the violence of the state. So,
have you done other artistic projects with the liberty theme?
You know, I wouldn't necessarily call it artistic. I mean, I do a lot of memes online, so there's a good chance that some liberty meme at some point you've probably seen something that I've done. I do a lot of pictures as well, so there's a good chance that someone somewhere in the liberty, you know, sphere of some sort, you might have seen their profile picture that I shot for something. But outside that, you know, comics are kind of my main, like, bigger creative project. So.
Yeah, well, in a way, comics are sort of like bigger memes, because memes are just these like hieroglyphics of ideas, right? I saw some comic somewhere of sort of like the evolution of language going from hieroglyphics to a written alphabet all back to me, and now comic books, which are longer hieroglyphics. Well, it looks like this really could be a wide age range. During the break, I was scanning through the second comic book, the latest one to be published, and I'm seeing some pretty adult themes here, like war, and there's a SWAT team. I see the devil. Is this too scary for kids? Would you say kids stay away?
It kind of depends. It's one of those things you have to make a judgment call. Each person is going to be a little different. Some kids are more mature, and some kids, it might give them, scares that, they don't necessarily need that age. So the key is, with any content and anything out there, it should always be on an individual basis. And I think that's a big libertarian motif, is that we don't make judgments, on generalities. We make judgments based on the individual. So, it's one of those things you have to make a judgment call. But I would say that it's generally geared toward those who are in the comic reading age, 12, 13, maybe plus kind of thing. The kind of things you'd expect if someone was reading a Spider-Man or Batman comic, because those kind of comics have serious themes in them too, with death, pain, suffering, and things like that. But it's, of course, always something you have to just consider if somebody is emotionally ready to handle that kind of topic.
Yeah, one of the things about producing art in 2014 is that a person has to be engaged with their audience. So, and one of the ways that you're engaged is that people can go and download this comic for free right now over at their website, volcomic.com. But after they do that, how can they stay engaged with you so that they can say, I want to have input on comic 3, or I want to pre-order, or how can they stay in touch?
Sure. I always like to stay active with my Facebook profile. That's the facebook.com/sire, SIRE.voluntary. There's also the Facebook main page, which is facebook.com/volcomics. That's VOLCOMICS, just the plural of volcomic.com. And the YouTube, which is youtube.com/the-voluntaryists. And among those sites, there's just tons of ways to interact with social media. Although, I think in due time, there's probably going to be a big change in social media because of Facebook's metrics. I think there's some room for what will probably be a changeover for new integrated social media means. And of course, when that happens, I'll be jumping on that. But for now, Facebook, YouTube, pretty typical stuff most people are using.
Voluntarist comic, check it out. It's free right now at volcomic.com. Jamie Sherman, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Derek.
All right. We'll be back with some election results. We've got some more news. It's November 4th, 2014.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties.
All right.
Now,
Rock
there's
on.
one.
Thanks you very much, Jamie.
Thank you.
Peace. You're
Yeah.
free to go. You're no
Keep
longer
up.
being detained.
Good. Keep up the good work. I like the work you do, so I follow along with, your victimless crime sprees, and of course, staying out of jail as long as you can is a good idea.
Thank you. Yes, it's a lot more possible now that I'm working at this free state-owned thrift store.
Yeah.
Have you ever visited New Hampshire? I should have asked you that on air.
I haven't. I haven't visited yet, but I've been dying to go, and especially go to Pork Fest. It's always
Pork Fest. Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you haven't come during Pork Fest. That's a good time. Anyway, I'll let you go.
All right.
See you soon. Peace.
Take care, Derek.
Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do. I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's post pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click get notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Whoa, Gary Johnson says he's going to enter the race in 2016 to provide a libertarian option for candidates. Oh, gosh. Well, Rand Paul certainly doesn't offer one. I'll give him that. According to Reason.com, there's already good news. Today's election day, the 2012 Libertarian Party candidate for president, former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, has announced that he's running for the 2016 Libertarian Party nomination. He directly addressed how his views differ from Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, the most libertarian-likely candidate from a majority party. Quote, on half the issues, he's right. But on the whole social issue thing, look, libertarians are flaming liberals when it comes to social issues, when it comes to civil liberties. A woman's right to choose, drug reform, immigration, marriage equality. He's not there. Gary Johnson's right. He is providing the better candidate, putting forward the best ideas in this presidential election. I appreciate him filling that sort of role. It seems to me like a sort of waste of money, but he's a billionaire or millionaire at least, so he can stand to lose a few just to put the ideas forward on a mainstream platform like a presidential election. I'll continue with the article. Johnson, who ran with Judge Jim Gray, pulled about 1.3 million votes and 1% of the overall total. Wow, 1%. That was the best showing for the Libertarian Party since 1980. Why do people continue to run as part of the Libertarian Party when it is so ineffective? I suppose it's simply to put forward the ideas, to provide an alternative to the mainstream. Okay. But it's really sad to see 1% victory. You know, if that's a victory, that's the best showing. Yikes. In an interview with Newsmax, Johnson laid out his reasons to campaign again. Here's a snippet of the interview, which includes video and a transcript. Quote, "The whole election is a big yawn. Who cares who wins? Because nothing's really going to change. It's like a debate between Coke and Pepsi. They're debating over which one tastes better," he said. They start talking about tax policy. Coke wants to reduce the corporate tax rate to 30%, and Pepsi wants to drop it to 28%. Where's the libertarian viewpoint, which says, do away with it completely? Do away with income tax, corporate tax, abolish the IRS. If you're going to replace it with anything, replace it with a consumption tax. That's the real meat on the bones. I just don't see any meat anywhere. People are clamoring to hear good ideas as opposed to the lesser of two evils. Either the Democrats are going to win or the Republicans are going to win. But the losers are all of us out here as citizens that really do want meaningful change, and none of it's happening. There's no dialogue regarding meaningful change. And I appreciate you can, we'll have a link to the article in the show notes to this episode at peacenewsnow.com. You can see there are organizations like, what is it? Oh, shoot. I forget. There's an organization that's dedicated to providing an alternative debate other than the typical presidential debates, and I believe they broadcast them on Fora TV, Larry King's channel, and they've got the Green Party candidates and libertarians debating with each other. It's good to hear alternative viewpoints outside of the Republican, Democrat, mainstream talk. It just doesn't seem to be doing anything is the problem. I don't want to hear this talk from politicians. As Jamie, the producer of the Voluntaryists comic book, and I talked about in the previous segment, it doesn't seem like using the system produces much meaningful change. According to the article, back in 2012, Reason ran a series of articles, each making the libertarian case for the Democratic, Republican, and Libertarian presidential contender. This author, Nick Gillespie, authored one in favor of Gary Johnson. Back in 2011, Reason TV followed Johnson as he talked with Occupy Wall Street protesters back in New York City. Take a listen to one excerpt from that interview.
The root of all evil, if you want to point at it, is politicians that are going to save you and I from elect me and I'll save you. I am Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico. Of course, I'm a presidential candidate here on Wall Street to visit Occupy Wall Street and find out what it's all about. I think we should go in here with an open mind, ask questions, and see what we can find out.
I'm sort of former Tea Party member until it got bought out by the Christian conservatives, an educator, and I've been unemployed for 2.5 years. I have 2 master's degrees, not doing me any good. $60,000 in student loans. When you have this grassroots democratic movement, you get all these different voices coming together, and sometimes one voice comes up as the more powerful voice, and the others get drowned out. And especially when the billions of dollars came into the Tea Party movement, that's when the more moderates got drowned out and the libertarians got drowned out. And so, that's why I moved on to this one.
So I'm Gary Johnson.
Oh, you're the political guy.
Yeah, I'm the political guy.
I think it's kind of unfair that all of these people running for office are coming here and trying to co-opt our movement into their own political gain.
I'm not trying to do that.
Because I have to say, there have been a lot of political groups that come down and try to garner attention for themselves, but it's really not what this movement is about.
I would not think so.
Yeah, this movement is beyond politics.
What is the movement about?
Well, I can't speak for everybody here, but I can tell you that I think it's about wealth and income inequality. And I think that everybody deserves to have a government that represents them.
I'm against the wars, and by wars I mean our military involvement. I'm against the drug war.
What about taxes?
Well, I'm advocating throwing out the entire federal tax system and replacing it with the fair tax.
Is it a progressive tax?
Well, it's a consumption tax.
So you want all of us to pay for everything we consume, even though we don't get the same rights to consume it?
What, among other things, the fair tax does is it issues everyone in the country a $200 a month rebate check, which allows all of us to pay the fair tax up to the point of the poverty line.
Now, this might be one of those politician solutions where he's talking about the fair tax. And this woman has some great questions. While she may come from the progressive side of the aisle, she has some great questions about fairness and justice. It seems like she's motivated by the issues that really matter. And Gary's struggling to find language that can meet her on common ground, where he's saying, she's insinuating that he wants to do away with taxes, and that's going to hurt the little guy. He's a big corporatist, and he wants, the little people to pay the taxes and the corporations to be exempt. But he's saying, well, I think there should be a consumption tax, treat everyone fairly and equally. He's making the case for this, but I don't think there should be taxes at all. I don't think he goes far enough with this. Because there's no legitimate authority for the organization calling itself the state to impose a tax on free people. If we are free, if we own ourselves, then what right do these people with funny hats have to tell you or me, that we have to pay an extra 18 cents per gallon of gasoline, or an extra $2 a pack for cigarettes, or for alcohol, that you need their permission first? What right do they have? I think these are the questions that Gary Johnson ought to be asking, but as a politician seeking power, he's not going to broach that subject.
Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
Do you know the difference between erudite and pedantic? If you do, you're probably pedantic. But seriously, a surprising number of erudite people mispronounce erudite, which has 3 syllables, not 4. Say erudite, erudite. Because you are judged by how you speak, you want to avoid common misstatements, especially if you're a job seeker. For instance, do you know the difference between imply and infer? Only a speaker can imply. Only a listener can infer. And when you say you'll be out of pocket, do you mean out of touch? Out of pocket means you're on your own dime, not yet reimbursed. And if anyone ever asks, why do you always answer a question with a question? You should reply, do I do that? Just kidding. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Now that you've found the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM, you may want to help expose others to our great programs. To assist you in doing so, you'll find resources at promote.lrn.fm, including details on how to get a free bumper sticker, quarter-page flyers you can print out and distribute, banners for your website, as well as files that will allow you to make your own custom banners and graphics. Visit promote.lrn.fm and help bring new listeners to the Liberty Radio Network. That's promote.lrn.fm.
Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Instead of just listening, you can also watch. See Liberty Radio Network's key New Hampshire-based live shows via our studio cam at cam.lrn.fm. Plus, you'll still be able to listen to the Liberty Radio Network via the cam feed in high quality 24/7, even when there's no live show being produced in our Keene studio. But wait, there's more. Our chat room is built into the cam page so you can interact with other listeners online. Listen, watch, and chat, all free at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm. Free Talk Live.
One of the counselor's excuses for her behavior after call accused her of engaging in stealing. This is stealing. You're taking something from somebody who believed they owned something, and by all evidence did own something. You're taking it from them. And as you say, Mark, this goes on all across the country. They're called tax sales or tax deeds. Whenever people drop back in not being able to pay property taxes, in this case, it's because of the down economy. These people are having frustrated, and she said, well, it's not stealing because it's the law. So apparently when the law says you can take something that's not yours, it's not stealing. And now all the law is, as you pointed out, and you talk about the Constitution that's supposed to be the highest law in the land, the law is just words on paper written down by men and women. Some of them signed their names to it, but most of us, in fact 99.999% of us, never signed anything in regards to their laws.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM.
Welcome back. We're live. It's Peace News. November 4th, 2014. It's voting day! You know what that means. Slave suggestion box time. Did you vote? Did you feel good about it? Did you feel productive? Did your guy win? Or gal? Yeah, I don't really care much for voting. It always seems creepy and weird to me, the places where they make you go. Like, I don't want to go to a middle school. That's where I would have to go vote today. No, I'm not going back into those cages. Those are like cement block walls. They look like every other government building. Even the prisons are built the same way. I swear they hire the same contractors. I don't want to go into those places. And then, you know, you walk through the line. Last time I walked through the line and voted here in New Hampshire, I did go to the middle school. And I recorded the entire way through because I like to record my life and what happens. Later to find out, that's actually a felony. I committed multiple felonies for walking through recording. Not only is it a crime to record your ballot, to take a picture of you with your filled out ballot in the voting booth, but also to record the voices of people without their consent inside this, you know, what I thought was a public area. It's a public school, right? And I'm voting, so you would think it's a public place. Nope, apparently that's against the rules. So I didn't end up publishing this video. I could tell you about it, but I don't want to go encourage the authorities to crack down on me like over, hopefully. I'm not trying to invoke the wrath of the state here. But it's just crazy to me, the risks that a person could take in just doing something as simple as voting. You could be committing multiple felonies. It's not really worth it to me. There's not a lot that gets produced from the time I spend voting that I can say, oh yeah, you know, got a lot of freedom out of that. Boy, I would really rather just take a nap or get some extra sleep or something. So I hope you got some extra sleep or did something productive, or maybe you voted and your guy won, and I want to hear about that. You can call in 443-424-8347 or send a Skype contact request to Peace News Now. But I want to turn to Reason.com reporting on Free Staters, quote, making waves in New Hampshire politics, as Ian Freeman reports at freekeen.com. Where else in the United States or the earth besides New Hampshire are libertarians making an impact on the elections? Nowhere that I've heard of. Here's a piece from Reason.com acknowledging our impact. Keep in mind, the official move for the Free State Project has yet to even begin. And here is the article. Reading from Reason.com, JD2Seal writes, Headline: New Hampshire pro-freedom candidates make waves. So watch your local races. And we will do a little bit of reporting on what happened locally. Almost all of the political jabber is about which party gets to control the Senate or over a few tight gubernatorial races. But local contests count in people's lives too, and offices further down the ticket are often more accessible to both candidates and voters. There may be no place where that is more true than in New Hampshire, which enjoys a 424-member legislature. Libertarian-oriented free staters moving to the Granite State have had such success in making waves that Democratic State Representative Cynthia Chase proposed to, quote, restrict the freedoms that they think they will find here just to make the state less attractive to migrants. That genius is still in office, sad to say, but a lot of liberty-friendly people, some free staters, others locally sourced, have joined her in the legislature. This year, the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, a nonpartisan coalition working to increase individual freedom in New Hampshire, boasts that a stunning 80% of NHLA-endorsed candidates advanced to the general election. Many of those candidates, mostly Republicans, but some Democrats too, are incumbents. There are a lot of them. Are those lawmakers getting anything done? Last month, Dick DeSawyers, chairman of the Hampton Democratic Committee, complained in a letter to the editor, quote, as a result of the 2010 election, the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance, a main organization for carrying out the strategies of the FSP, or Free State Project, orchestrated the election of Representative Bill O'Brien to the position of House Speaker. As Speaker, Mr. O'Brien employed strong-arm tactics to oust long-term Republicans and replace them with Free Staters. He used such tactics to introduce and pass legislation to remove any and all government impacts on liberty and property rights, and diminished the importance of protecting and promoting the common good. Yes, I thought that was an endorsement too, but really he was expressing unhappiness with the situation. Go ahead and read the rest of it. And keep an eye on those local races in New Hampshire and hopefully near you. You can read more at freekeen.com, reason.com, and peacenewsnow.com. We'll have links to all the notes. But returning to freekeen.com, there's another important story of Keenvention. And Ian did a terrific job of keeping recaps every day of what different events had occurred. The Bitcoin groups, the keynote speeches, the acts of direct action as there were cop blocking and Robin Hooding happening during the convention. He was able to recap that. I don't think there's one single blog post that encapsulates all of it, but there is one by a journalist over at the Union Leader. And this is just amazing to me. It's written by a woman named Megan Pierce. She tends to write all the Union Leader articles about the Keene area. So, of course, she was writing about Keenvention, a convention that happened this weekend here in Keene, New Hampshire, focused on liberty activism and people who move here to become more engaged with the direct action type community, or people working in various different ways to advance freedom. Well, she writes, headline, Speaker addresses Robin Hooding at Keenvention. James Cleveland shared his activist journey as a keynote speaker at the second annual Keenvention Saturday. And you can find this article at unionleader.com. Cleveland, 27, moved from Georgia to Keene 2 years ago as part of the Free State Project. He had joined the Army to follow his dad's footsteps and pay for college when he got a wake-up call from Ron Paul in 2007 and asked to be discharged, he said. Quote, Ron Paul kind of woke me up. I made the tough decision and said, you know what? I don't agree with the mission of this organization anymore, he said. It wasn't until he moved to Keene in 2012, though, that he got involved with liberty activism. I've gained courage. The people here inspire me. He was especially drawn to Robin Hooding, in which activists try to fill empty parking meters before city parking enforcement can write tickets. The activists often film the parking enforcers and engage them. City officials say it's harassment of city employees. At one point, Cleveland made it his mission to Robin Hood or have an activist Robin Hood during each of the city's parking enforcement hours every week. Because of his zeal for the activity, he has become internationally known as the official Robin Hood of the movement. Cleveland said his success in activism is just putting in the effort. Ideas are important, but they are 1%. Effort and action are 99% of life, Cleveland said. Robin Hooding led to city lawsuits against Cleveland and 5 other activists. The lawsuits were dismissed by Cheshire County Superior Court after an evidentiary hearing. The city has since appealed that decision in the New Hampshire Supreme Court, where a decision is pending. Since moving to Keene, Cleveland has also run for state representative, and he received 30 votes. He had gotten arrested for when, acting as a journalist, he refused to move further away from an active police scene. Quote, I basically made the decision on principle that freedom of the press was important to me, he said. It was scary, but he's glad he stood his ground. We've got more on Keenvention and the elections when Peace News returns. You can call in 443-424-8347 or Skype Peace News now.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50, non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403.
The 3 most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same great prices, and LRN gets a cut. Please do your online shopping at shop.lrn.fm.
Why does a U.S. orthodontist make more than some CEOs? You get that dental bill and you'll know. Implants, partial or full bridge, the kids need braces, fractions of U.S. prices. Balloon angioplasty for heart patients in the U.S. is $50,000. Thailand, under $7,000. Heart bypass, joint and hip replacement, cancer, many procedures under the price of your Obamacare deductible and copay. Don't risk bankruptcy. Hit us up now. We'll show you how at AsiaRunLikeHellGuide.com.
More Peace News Now is coming up next, live after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Tuesday, November 4th, 2014. Silver is trading at $16 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,169 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $330. Antiwar.com reports Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko has threatened to withdraw his government from a truce with Eastern secessionist rebels a day after the Easterners held an election for leaders of their breakaway republic. Poroshenko insisted that the election was a flagrant fraud, claimed to have already held talks with the defense ministry about the prospects of restarting the civil war. The war wasn't going particularly well for the Ukrainian government at the time the truce was reached, as the rebels had launched a counteroffensive chasing them out of the key portions of the territory of the Donetsk and Luhansk Oblast. The rebel vote is expected to install Alexander Zakharchenko as the new president of the People's Republic of Donetsk. Zakharchenko is a leader of the rebel movement already and an advocate of outright secession from Ukraine, saying he believes the Donetsk region could become a wealthy energy exporter along the lines of the United Arab Emirates. FPP Radio News is brought to you by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They now take Bitcoin for purchasing precious metals so you can turn your profits into a long-term investment. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing. 800-874-9760. The Washington Post reports when voters take to the polls today, they'll do more than elect representatives to pass laws on their behalf. They'll do some policy making of their own. Across 41 states and the District of Columbia, voters will weigh in on 147 ballot measures on issues ranging from minimum wage to marijuana legalization to the labeling of genetically modified foods to gun policy to taking on $18 billion in debt. If all 147 ballot measures are approved, 2 states and the District of Columbia will legalize cannabis for recreational use. 2 states will require genetically modified foods to carry labels indicating that fact. Gambling and gaming will be restricted in some states and allowed in others. Georgia will cap its income tax, and the state of Washington will simultaneously, paradoxically, both ban and require firearm background checks. Of course, not all measures will be approved. Nearly 1/4 of the questions on this year's ballot are a chance of passing, according to data compiled by the Initiative and Referendum Institute at the University of Southern California. Among the measures before voters, voters in Oregon, Alaska, and Washington, D.C. will vote on different forms of cannabis legalization, as voters in Colorado and Washington famously did in 2012. Floridians will consider legalizing medical marijuana. Polling so far suggests there are no clear winners on those questions. Louisiana will allow voters to weigh in on 14 issues directly this year, more than any other state. New Mexico and North Dakota are tied for second with 8 questions each, including a controversial amendment to the North Dakota Constitution that would extend rights to the unborn. Maine, Oregon, and Rhode Island will each pose 7 questions to voters. ExpressCoin is the best choice for buying Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, and more. ExpressCoin prides themselves on their customer service, so much so that the back end on the website should allow them to be even more focused on your needs. Get your cryptocurrencies with money order, check, wire transfer, or cash deposit. Get started at expresscoin.fppradio.com. That's expresscoin.fppradio.com. Reuters reports Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro announced on Monday a 15% increase in the minimum wage starting in December to protect workers from inflation of more than 60%. Maduro blamed soaring consumer prices on an economic war launched by foes of his socialist government, frequently accusing business executives of price gouging, hoarding, and speculating. Critics, though, say Venezuela's endemic inflation problem is evidence of the failure of the 15 years of socialist economics under Maduro and his late predecessor, Hugo Chavez. In the last data available, Venezuela's annualized inflation rate reached 63.4% in August, with consumer prices rising by 3.9% that month, according to the central bank. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
You are nothing more than the reflection of a grim, pitiless world, and this is The Onion Week in Review. Following the Supreme Court's ruling on same-sex marriage this week, overjoyed gay couples in Florida rushed out of their homes to have their marriages denied to them. Homosexual couples throughout the southern state told reporters they were ecstatic over the landmark decision supporting gay rights and said they couldn't wait in line and have their requests to be wed rejected by their home state. And in science news, scientists probably discovered a frog or something. They're always doing that sort of shit. In other news, an 8-year-old boy surprises his Marine father during a firefight in Afghanistan. Johnny Depp is now physically unable to walk unless whimsically teeter-tottering across a rolling log, wobbly plank, or swaying beam. And Silvio Berlusconi is transferred to a steamy, all-female penitentiary. If you're seeking a celebrity interview, stay away from that bastard Tobey Maguire, who apparently can't even pick up a phone to say he has a schedule conflict and won't be able to make it into the studio. For more, keep checking theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Yo, what's going on, world? Welcome back. It's hour 2 of Peace News. We're live if you're listening Tuesday at 11 p.m., November 4th, 2014, here on the East Coast in Keene, New Hampshire, Liberty Media capital of the world. Boy, it's good to be with you. It's such an exciting day. It's voting day. No, I didn't vote. I know that's the first question you were probably asked when you walked into work this morning, but I don't think it's worth doing sometimes. You know, it is worth doing in New Hampshire. An argument can be made there, and I would do it. Honestly, if my hand were held through the process. I don't like going to the middle school, which is where I went to go vote last time. I hope they change my ward or something changes about the place where you go to vote. It's all too creepy to me. Too much cost, not enough benefit. Anyway, I was reading a story from the Union Leader where James Robin Hood Cleveland was giving his keynote speech at Keenvention, and this author, what's her name? She's a good one. Megan Pierce, yes, journalist at unionleader.com, covering Keene-specific issues generally. She's a Union Leader correspondent. She was writing about the speech, and I think in pretty positive terms. If I were to say that she has a slant in this article, which I don't, I would say it would be positive. So, well, let's return to the article. She writes, "It was scary, but he's glad he stood his ground." Speaking of James standing up for his principles, despite it being an unpopular decision for his parents and the army at the time. Quote, "We have to at least try to do what Gandhi said and basically be the change you want to see in the world," Cleveland said. "If I don't achieve more liberty in my lifetime, at least I tried. That's what's important to me. I'm going to try. I don't know the best solution. I'm going to run for office. I'm going to go out Robin Hooding. I'm going to do cop blocking. I'm going to produce media. We have to have a vision of what we want the world to be." An accountant by trade, Cleveland recently left his job with a local construction company to start his own business, a secondhand shop, Deals 101, or 101 Deals, I think she meant, on Route 101 in Keene. Keenvention was organized by Free Keene blog founder Ian Freeman. Oh, and by the way, about 101 Deals, they just opened up. They've got, I don't think a website yet, as silly as that may sound, but a Facebook page, yes, they do have. So 101 Deals, I believe, is the Facebook page. Go over there and like it. You can see some pictures of the store already, which were taken by our very own Johnson Rice of Free Talk Live. Attendance this year was similar to last year's, with about 120 people attending, Freeman said. Freeman said he didn't realize when he planned the event that it would take place just before the midterm election, which he attributes to attendance not growing in its second year. "People in the Liberty movement are running serious campaigns," Freeman said. Though Keenvention is not a Free State Project event, it does draw people from out of state wanting to learn more about the project and New Hampshire. Freeman encourages attendees to explore the city and enjoy the local restaurants. While Free State Project's spring and summer events, the Liberty Forum and Porkfest, focus on national speakers, Keenvention focuses on New Hampshire activists and featured 42 New Hampshire-based speakers this year. The 3-day convention also had panels on Bitcoin, New Hampshire secession, charity media, cop blocking, and filmmaking. Hey, I was a part of that panel. You can catch all those videos at Free Keen's YouTube channel and freekeen.com's. Just stay tuned for those. They'll be rolling out probably every weekend, about once a week or so. There are usually a few videos at the beginning that get rolled out from Keenvention, and then they take a few months to get the rest of them out because, you know, we want to prolong the magic and also encourage participants in next year's Keenvention, which is going to be a blast. Hey, one thing that didn't get mentioned in the article, I'm not surprised. It was a late night event, and maybe the author Megan Pierce didn't make it, was the Hollow Keen dance party, which I and several others put on. It was a blast. It was a really good time. There were lasers, lights, dancing. There was alcohol and pizza, and everyone had a good time. There were some really fun costumes, 2 Hunter S. Thompson costumes, in fact. Wolverine costume that won a prize. That was memorable. And so many others. 2 judge costumes. One was Judge Burke. He was awarded another prize. And James Robin Hood Cleveland won an honorary prize. He came dressed, of course, as Robin Hood. So let's turn to another article about Keenvention. Now that we've heard one that has what I would consider to be a slightly positive slant or coloring to the facts by Megan Pierce. Now let's read one from Martha Shanahan at the Sentinel staff. See if you detect a slightly different attitude in this choice of wording. In a dimly lit event hall at a Best Western hotel in Keene Sunday morning, people were talking about secession. Specifically, a proposal that New Hampshire secede from the United States was the topic of the morning's panel at Keenvention, the second annual event in Keene for, quote, liberty-minded activists. Now, just right off the bat, these first 2 sentences or paragraphs are like the beginning of an Edgar Allan Poe poem. I mean, like, in a dimly lit event hall, seriously? It's almost laughable. The headline, by the way, is At Keenvention, Searching for a Definition for Freedom. Okay, maybe. I think a lot of people would say it's, you know, the non-aggression principle or, you know, property rights. Or I think a lot of people have maybe, you know, there's a point to be made that there's no clear definition for freedom at Keenvention. There were people of different viewpoints, but I think generally, I don't know. This just doesn't seem to fit for me. Let's return to the article. She writes, the concept was once central to the Free State Project, Jason Sorens's 2001 idea as a Yale University PhD student to convince 20,000 libertarians to move to New Hampshire and create a utopia of limited government. But as panelists discussed the terms of a New Hampshire secession, it wasn't that simple. Over more than an hour, the conversation jumped from intricacies of the recent failed vote for Scottish independence to a proposal that each person on Earth be considered an independent nation. That's over 7 billion countries. To Soren's claim that people of New Hampshire aren't ready for secession and need to be wooed with simpler ideas. Quote, you can talk to people about self-government, Sorens warned, not secession. Potential participants may be put off by the idea if they think it's too extreme, he said. The panel's speakers went on to compare the U.S. government to the mafia, then an abusive spouse, before opening the floor to questions. Over a weekend of panels and speeches, an estimated 100 people at Keenvention discussed and debated the minutiae of what it means to live in a libertarian lifestyle. For a movement whose Keene members have generated more anger than inspiration among average Keene residents, The event at the Winchester Street Hotel had a giddy feel. Ideas flowed freely, though conclusions were hard to find. At the entrance to the event hall Saturday, keen libertarian activist and radio talk show host Ian Freeman, who organized the weekend's conference, hanged out name tags and pointed people towards an array of pamphlets bearing green pictures of New Hampshire landscapes. Each attendee had paid $60 in advance or $75 at the door to attend the full weekend schedule. Freeman said attendance was smaller than last year's convention by about 20 people, but ticket sales almost completely covered the cost of renting out the hotel ballroom. We've got more from this scathing article from the Sentinel, the Slantinel, as I sometimes call it. And then we've got some anti-war news here at Peace News.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
You know you can get news updates about what's happening with the Liberty Radio Network delivered in the way you prefer? You can sign up for our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. Plus, you can stay in the loop by joining our Facebook profile at facebook.lrn.fm or follow us at Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm. It's all free, so sign up now at updates.lrn.fm for news updates delivered to your email box, facebook.lrn.fm to follow our Facebook page, and twitter.lrn.fm to receive our tweets.
Do you drink coffee? Was the last cup of coffee you had really good? Free Talk Live has teamed up with BuzzBox to bring you the best of the best coffee, shade-grown, organic, top 1% grade Arabica. But what's different is for every 10 people that get their coffee through coffee.freetalklive.com, we can give another microloan through Kiva. Get a free pound to try it out. A free pound of the best coffee. Help others one cup at a time. Coffee.freetalklive.com.
Imagine someone in your community getting in their car, turning on the radio, and hearing the Liberty Radio Network. You can make that vision a reality with your own micro radio station. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how you can put our programs on the air in your area. You can have LRN.FM running around the clock, and you can even add in your own local shows. Building a radio station is simple, but programming isn't. That's where LRN.FM comes in. Learn more at broadcast.lrn.fm. That's broadcast.lrn.fm.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in a left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. Find out about giving to our Google AdWords campaign at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to inform you that the District of Criminals has now legalized cannabis. Woo! Yeah, Obama's in the White House, rolling up a doobie now, probably smoking some blunts, passing them around the Oval Office. Because again, it's legal now. He's going to continue caging people around the country for growing and consuming the plant, but it's legal in his neck of the woods. Boy, isn't that happy. Well, I can be happy a little bit in that more people won't be going to jail, but what I'd really like to see is jail doors swinging open and people previously convicted of possession of a dangerous plant like marijuana be let free. That would be real justice. That's what I would hope to see. Maybe it's a little too much to ask in 2014, but hey, you put those ideas out there like, hey, peaceful people don't belong in cages, and maybe in a few years, that idea will be popular enough to be reality. Let's return to the article about Keenvention, where Martha Shanahan seems to be laughing about these ideas of liberty. Potential participants may be put off by the idea that they think it's too extreme. The panel's speakers compared the U.S. government to the mafia, then to an abusive spouse. He would, let's see, about the attendance, she writes that Ian Freeman pay for any shortfalls with the revenue he gets from hosting Free Talk Live, a daily satellite radio show he founded and runs with a cast of other liberty-minded personalities. At the sign-in table, a woman attempted to feed a stack of $20 bills into a tabletop Bitcoin ATM that, in theory, would convert her U.S. currency into the cryptocurrency favored by libertarians and accessed through the online wallets on a smartphone or computer. The machine spit out the woman's money like a broken vending machine. She rubbed a bill against the edge of the table before trying again, this time with success. Some convention goers said they consider themselves anarchists. Not all consider themselves members of the Libertarian Political Party, but most consider themselves small L libertarians. One speaker, Lauren Rumpler, makes YouTube videos under the username Objectivist Girl, in which she praises the theories of Ayn Rand. In one video, she sets fire to a handful of $1 bills to make a point about Bitcoin. On Saturday, Rumpler picked raffle tickets from a jar to determine who had won the day's prize, a date with her. When her first selection declined, he's gay, a bystander explained. The second winner pumped his fists and ran to the stage wearing a hat, orange-tinted sunglasses, and a Hawaiian print shirt, an unlit cigarette dangling from his mouth. No one seemed sure who he was. Now, this is really funny to me because this person was clearly in costume as Hunter S. Thompson, but Martha, the journalist writing the story, didn't recognize that. And yeah, he was not familiar to me or many others who in attendance, but that doesn't mean he didn't belong there. We were all happy that he won the prize, and he seemed to enjoy himself that night. Quote, a few people carried handguns that stuck out conspicuously from holsters on their belts. At least 5 smoked vaporized nicotine from e-cigarettes as they sat in the audience. Some did not wear shoes. What a weird thing to note. For the most part, they could agree on 2 things. The government should have less power, and that more people should move to New Hampshire to make that happen here. The answer to the inevitable question about how to achieve these objectives, it seems, depended on who you asked. Despite the extensive media coverage they receive, most said stunts in Keene such as Robin Hooding, feeding expired parking meters before parking enforcers can issue tickets, and smoking marijuana in Central Square aren't what attracted them to the movement. Brian Henchy, who moved to Merrimack from Massachusetts as a Free State Project member, has focused his energies on the voting booth. Moving to New Hampshire, he said, was a way to vote for an alternative to third-party candidates who have more of a chance of winning than in the perennial Democratic Bay State. The desire for freedom from an overreaching government is one of the reasons he got involved with the movement. Here, relocating to the Granite State has achieved that goal, though. Quote, "I'm not feeling as free as I could," he said. Henchy hopes the project will do away with rules that prohibit behaviors such as smoking in public places. He said he feels the same way about laws enforcing seatbelts for use by adults, until Freeman, standing nearby, reminded him that New Hampshire has no such laws. Zach Harvey said his struggle to run a business around the bureaucracy in Tel Aviv, Israel, drove him to relocate his guitar store in Manchester in 2012. But ask anyone what they think the movement's about, he said, and they'll give you their own response. No one knows what the answer is, he said, because it's an idea. It's an evolution over time. Many speakers described running up against wary banks, police, and pesky government regulations, even in New Hampshire, and as they attempt to run free businesses or charities. That's okay, people said many times over the weekend. The evolution of New Hampshire will be a slow one. Most at the conference conceded that the Free State Project's original goal, get 20,000 liberty lovers to eventually move to New Hampshire, is unlikely to pan out. Really? That's a weird thing for them to say. I think they more likely would have said it doesn't matter if it pans out, that it's going to be a success, whether the goal of 20,000 is reached or not, but no matter. After almost 14 years after Sorens published that idea, the Free State Project claims more than 16,000 people have signed up to move. Just over 1,500 people have actually made the trip, and the movement has started to trickle into the state's elections. More than 20 people aligned with the project have been elected to the New Hampshire House, and many more serve in municipal government positions. For most people mingling under the hotel's chandeliers, the project is not a means to an end, but rather a community to share common ideas with. The conference was sort of a mini version of the annual Porcupine Freedom Festival, the Free State Project's annual summer gathering in Lancaster. Jennifer Haberman traveled to Keene from Montreal, Quebec for the weekend. She said she heard the event advertised on Free Talk Live and had come to stay at the hotel and learn more about the liberty-minded lifestyle. As a nanny, that means telling the parents she works with that she won't punish their children. Quote, "It's really in tune with my philosophy," she said. "I try to incorporate it into my daily life." She's not tried the parking meter activism that's created so much media attention for Keene's libertarians. Haberman likes the idea, though. "It's a beautiful thing they're doing," she said. And we've got more from this story, plus the ever-important news of the Sinai militants swearing loyalty to ISIS, and more anti-war news from antiwar.com. This is Peace News.
It's the Onion Radio News. JCPenney abandons its 45-second sale. This is Doyle Redland reporting. Word came today from JCPenney headquarters in Plano, Texas, that the retail giant will discontinue its 45-second sale. The bargain bonanza, in which all JCPenney merchandise is discounted by 60% for 45 seconds starting at 1 p.m. daily, simply wasn't pulling in enough revenue. CEO Alan Questrom.
The 45-second sale drew very strong customer response, but regrettably, only a handful of shoppers actually got to capitalize on our fantastic prices due to the horrific injuries they sustained during their stampede to the cashier.
Questrom added that plans are in the works to create a longer 2-minute sale intended to give frantic shoppers at least a fighting chance to enjoy incredible store-wide savings. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a nonprofit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com.
The three most important things you can do for LRN.FM are: 1. Let your friends know you're listening to LRN.FM on your social networking profile. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.lrn.fm. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm. It's my firm belief that the AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented groups. Support all your favorite organizations, but make sure you give $5 a month to the AMP program at amp.lrn.fm.
A congressman recently revealed that legislation totaling 2,900 pages and involving more than $1 trillion was available to members of Congress for less than 48 hours to study and consider. That's over 60 pages of legislation per hour. Do you think anyone read the entire bill? I'm Jim Babka with DownsizeDC.org. Consider a proposal buried in a 3,200-page, $388 billion bill, which would have empowered committee chairmen or their agents to examine Americans' tax returns. When this horrible provision came to light, no one claimed to know how it got into the bill. One congressman questioned said, "I didn't write it. I didn't approve it. I wasn't even consulted." If your attorney represented you this way, he might be disbarred. But this is how Congress represents you every day. That's why DownsizeDC.org has created the Read the Bills Act. You can force Congress to read their bills before they pass them at DownsizeDC.org.
Listen to LRN.FM on any phone, anytime. 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309.
Good news, everyone. Looks like there are going to be some more Free Staters taking positions of political power in New Hampshire. Yep. The state rep seats, of which there are already 11, seems there are now 13 Free Staters who have won state rep elections today. So let's go through some of these wins that we've got, and then we'll return to the story that we're reading about all the dreary details of Key Invention, how terrible it was, according to the Slantinel article. But this from... well, it's just being compiled, honestly, at Facebook right now, while Ian Freeman, super activist from freekeen.com and Free Talk Live, compiles perhaps a blog post encapsulating all of these results. But let's cap first what we've got here. Glenn Aldrich, win! He was 4th out of 8. Mike Sylvia ran as an independent, it seems. Win! 2nd out of 4. Ed Camo, win! 3rd out of 6, defeating an incumbent. Luke Socker, fail, unfortunately, 3rd out of 3. Varen Swearingen, fail, unfortunately, 4th out of 4. Eric Catman did not make it, 4th out of 4. Still unclear the results about Robert Hull and Jeremy Olson, Brink Slattery, no, did not win. Sorry, no results on AP. According to Brink, Elizabeth Edwards, win! Yeah! First place with more votes than an incumbent. Wow. We've got to get her on Peace News, find out what the secret was to that success. Amanda Bolden, win, uncontested. Let's see, what else we've got? Let's go through a couple more of these wins. Keith Ammon won, first out of 2 with a solid 58%. Another win from Keith Murphy. He came in 5th out of 9. See, Andre Rosa, darn, didn't make it, 4th out of 4. Who else won? Brian Seaworth, win, 2nd out of 6. That's the same race as John Goldthwaite. Let's see what else. Shem Kellogg won, 4th out of 8. And any others? No other wins that I know of at this time. So, yay! Let's hear it for those candidates who moved to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project, got active, and are winning seats of political power in the State House. May they repeal many frivolous and ridiculous and tyrannical laws. May they repeal all the laws and give the people freedom. So I'm happy about that. Let's return to this article. I have too much celebrating. James Cleveland, a Free State Project participant who moved to Keene from Georgia in 2012, gave one of the weekend's keynote addresses to the half-full room on Saturday evening. His speech was an appeal to libertarian activists to learn from criticism and, quote, just do something. That criticism has been sharp in Keene. He and other libertarian activists are currently involved in 2 lawsuits with the city of Keene. Many bloggers with Freeman's Free Keene blog have been arrested, some repeatedly. A Facebook group called Stop Free Keene has now attracted more than 1,300 area residents who protest the libertarians' activists and activities and post photos and personal information about them. Now, let's be clear that this Facebook group may have 1,300 or so members, but that doesn't mean that they have opted into this group or even aware that they are part of the group, because, as you may know, people can be added involuntarily to a Facebook group. Yes, they can leave, but they may not be aware they were added. For example, this happened to me today. I was added to some random group by some random guy, and then I'm like, why am I in this group? That can happen to basically anyone, and sometimes they just forget about it. So I'm speculating that this 1,300 number is a little overblown. Cleveland is one of 6 people accused in the lawsuit by the city of Keene of harassing and intimidating city parking enforcement officers as they filled the meters with coins. The case reached the Supreme Court in oral arguments last month. Cleveland laughed it off in his speech. Quote, if you're important enough to have fans, you're going to have haters, he said. Speaking with a slight southern drawl, he detailed his decision to come to Keene. Like several others in the audience, his story had something to do with Ron Paul. Few people there had a story of how they found the movement without at least one mention of the former Republican congressman and 1988 Libertarian Party president nominee. But like many other of the Free Staters at the conference, Cleveland's move was also an attempt to find a community of people who understood him. Moving here, being with people here, it's like I'm no longer afraid, he said. Cleveland peppered his talk with references to a list of people he said were initially misunderstood but became influential. Christopher Columbus made the list. So did Jesus Christ, Henry Ford, Galileo, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Pablo Picasso, and Oprah Winfrey. The final line in Cleveland's speech earned him a standing ovation and illustrated the attitude of many there. I care about liberty, damn it, and I'm not going to apologize for that, he said. Well, all in all, a fairly written article, but I just ask you, what do you see? Is there any slant in this Slantinal article? It seems like they're sort of against it, against with the free keeners or the, it's big surprise that the establishment is not fond of the anti-establishment folks. Now let's turn to the very important news. We got to make time for this. Yeah, there's more ballot info. We can talk about the elections, and marijuana is on the ballot. Yeah, it looks like Oregon might take it too. We recently reported that the District of Criminals voted themselves legalized cannabis. Florida failed. Sorry about that, guys. We had Jamie Sherman from the Voluntaryists comic book. He said he voted in the Florida election and hoped to help the measure pass in Florida to legalize cannabis, but no, it didn't happen. Sorry, the suggestion slave box didn't work that time. So we'll have more news on cannabis and other victories, but let's turn to this important story from antiwar.com, where Jason Ditz writes, Sinai militants swear loyalty to ISIS. Huh? Ansar Bait al-Maqdis, the largest and most effective militant faction in the Sinai Peninsula, has issued a statement today declaring its allegiance to ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi as Caliph of the Muslims in Syria and Iraq and in other countries. What a bunch of crazy lunatics. Ansar Bait al-Maqdis has been the primary focus of the Egyptian military junta's Sinai offensive since its summer of 2013 coup, and the group has carried out several high-profile attacks on military targets within Egypt. Though they never specifically claimed responsibility, that is believed to include the massive attack last week on the northern Sinai, which left at least 33 troops dead and a number of others wounded. In addition to its activity in Sinai, Ansar Bait al-Maqdis is also active to a limited extent in the Gaza Strip as a rival of Hamas. The group has tried to undercut Hamas in the Strip and has sought to expand its control in the region with little success. Well, it seems like there are no good guys in the Middle East. I'm not rooting for anyone here. I root for freedom of choice and for peaceful methods of resolving complex social issues. Guns aren't going to do it, guys. The cycle of violence has to end somewhere. This is Peace News.
On LRN.FM, we talk a lot about alternative currencies. Did you know that now you can buy gold, silver, and other precious metals with Bitcoins? LRN.FM has partnered with Amaji Metals to bring you great prices on beautiful 0.999 fine silver, as well as gold, platinum, and other metals. Check out their selection and pay with Bitcoins or Federal Reserve notes at metal.lrn.fm. That's metal.lrn.fm.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! On your knees!
What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you gotta keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadavi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
If you can't listen to the Liberty Radio Network's internet streams, free satellite channel, or radio affiliates, no worries. You can listen to LRN.FM from any phone, anywhere. Add this number to your phone. 213-493-0309. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The Liberty Radio Network listen lines are locked into our stream 24 hours a day. Call 213-493-0309. That's 213-493-0309. When I found the Free State Project, I knew it was the key to achieving liberty in my lifetime. It's awesome to be surrounded by like-minded, freedom-loving activists who've moved here to New Hampshire. From politics to civil liberty was dying. Perhaps you feel the same way? Call 888-377-2515 now to learn more about the Free State Project. That's 888-377-2515 or visit freestateproject.org. DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.lrn.fm. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit the Liberty Radio Network when you shop at Amazon via shop.lrn.fm. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
You can interact with other LRN listeners in our message board at forum.lrn.fm. That's forum.lrn.fm.
Hey everyone, welcome back. This is the final segment of Peace News. We've got more updates on what's going on in the world of the Middle East from antiwar.com. They've got the updates. It's the best place to look for updates on what's really going on in the Middle East. You don't hear these stories in the mainstream. You hear about the election results. Yeah, that's plenty important enough if you're one of those Politico guys. But I think this is the kind of thing that, while it's confusing, it's difficult for me to read through stories with difficult names. These are the players who are forming the background of World War III. And when I want, in 10 years, when there are still conflicts going on in the Middle East, I want to be able to have some history, some background, some understanding of what was really going on. And I don't want to be able to say, or I don't want to have to say, yeah, it was happening while I was alive and aware, and I could have just gone to antiwar.com and been reading what was going on in the world, but I decided to stick my head in the sand and follow election results and follow local stuff instead. This is, say what you will about globalism, but we are an international community. I care about my friends and neighbors in the Middle East just as much as I would care about people in Ohio or anywhere around the world. I don't want people having bombs dropped on them. That freaking bothers me. And, so I have to read about it when it happens here. In Iraq, Kurds pay ransom for Yazidis, 174 killed across Iraq. This story from Margaret Griffiths at antiwar.com. At least 174 were killed in Iraq, mostly militants. Another 26 were wounded. Meanwhile, Kurdish authorities said they paid unidentified intermediaries $1.5 million to facilitate the release or escape of 234 Yazidi captives. Some leaders seemed reluctant to call the payment a ransom. In Ramadi, militants executed 36 members of the Albu Namir tribe, bringing the total to 358 deaths in recent days. Shelling killed 5 civilians and wounded 11 more in Amirayat al-Fallujah. The doctor was killed in Khalidia. A roadside bomb in Dibis killed a civilian. A dumped body was found in Husseiniya. In Baghdad, shelling in the Tunis neighborhood wounded 9 people. 6 people were wounded by shells in Grayat. Mortars also fell in Kahimiya. A dumped body was discovered in Al-Sada. At least 28 militants were killed and dozens were wounded near Baji refinery. In Qim, 25 militants were killed. 20 militants were killed in Hawajia. A clash in Zakura left 18 militants dead. I mean, this death toll is astounding. The list just continues on, and I'll show you this. I'll do a screen share to show you how valuable some of the work that's brought together by the folks at antiwar.com is. All of those references that I just mentioned, 2 militants were killed in an airstrike in Yusufia, and Haraka, an ISIS leader, was among several militants killed. On and on from antiwar.com as Margaret Griffiths breaks this down with links to each article's official documents of each death, linking to the original source, the Iraqi news source, and bolding the location of this action. So the roadside bomb in Dibis. So you can go and look that up and say, hey, where is Dibis? So you can really make a map of this stuff and see what the militants in the U.S. are doing. It's not just militants in the Middle East. The U.S. absolutely has responsibility there. So let's return to another article from antiwar.com where an Israeli Arab was sentenced to 22 months for fighting with ISIS. This from Haaretz.com. The article reads, a Hafai court on Monday sentenced an Israeli Arab who took part in training with Islamic State fighters in Syria to 22 months in prison. Okay, so this guy trained with the Islamic State fighters and now faces 22 months in prison. Did he kill anyone? Is there any alleged harm done by this individual? In September, Haifa Magistrates Court convicted Ahmad Sherbahi, 23, from al-Fam, of illegally entering Syria and training with Islamic State, also known as ISIS or ISIL. The court accepted the state's claim that going to an enemy country for military training, especially Syria, and most especially for training with the Islamic State, is an offense that poses a great threat to Israel's security. Yeah, but he didn't do anything. That's the problem, is that, yeah, he may have gone to this place, he may have looked for training, but he didn't do anything with it. You could argue the same about people who join the American military for training, for the purposes of learning a new skill, for learning the self-defense, but do they ever use their military training to harm anyone? I think that's what really makes the difference. Yeah, plenty do. Plenty do go to Iraq and they kill innocent civilians. Plenty of Islamic State fighters kill innocent civilians. That's what is the crime. That's what should make the difference, not training with the people. I mean, we should be able to trade with one another. We should be able to engage in peaceful exchanges, like exchange of ideas, training with one another. Sure, why not? Break bread. But killing people, that's wrong. Well, there's no accusation of having done that, but they're still going to charge him and put him in prison. The verdict stated that Arab citizens of Israel who returned from fighting from Syria could endanger Israeli security in various ways. They could potentially use their acquired military expertise to act against Israel or to create ties between returning fighters and global Islamic Jihad fighters. The court ruled that even a potential threat establishes jurisdiction and that a country that is defending itself must not wait for the threat to go from theory into practice. Doesn't that sound kind of like the Bush doctrine? Like, oh, if they might attack us, then we have to take them out. Well, they've been trained, so we have to punish this guy. We have to take him out. Ridiculous. The indictment filed in May against Shirbahi stated that he took part in several armed battles waged by Islamic State against President Bashar Assad's regime. Okay, well, there's that finally. Okay, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs in. Like, this is just some aside that he took part in armed battles. That's the crime, damn it. I mean, gosh, this is journalism from Harrods? Well, I guess they're trying to hide the reality, aren't they? He entered Syria via Turkey last January and returned to Ben Gurion International Airport on April 20th, where he was arrested. According to the indictment, during Shabahi's stay in Syria, he attended a week-long military training session, took part in lessons on Sunni and Shia Islam, and practiced shooting rifles and using a variety of weapons. So what? That's no crime. Armed battles, that's crime. So far, 2 Israeli Arabs have been reported killed fighting alongside ISIS. Hamad Mohammed Habashi from the Galilee village of Iskal, who was probably killed near Ramadi in western Iraq, his family said. Othman Abdalkian, a doctor who also worked as a resident with the Israeli hospital, was also reported killed. This is just so tragic. These individuals, you know, they're just a blurb and a paragraph in a Harrods article about a potential terrorist being prosecuted, sent to prison. These deaths, I mean, gosh, if people can't get out of the Middle East, this should be the writing on the wall. This should be a big red flag. I mean, if it wasn't there already, get out of the Middle East. There's nothing good to be had there. It's just a lot of fighting and death, and there seems to be no good guys in all of this. Israeli Arabs joining armed militias was a rare phenomenon until 2011 when the Syrian civil war started. Before then, there were very few instances of Israeli Arabs, youths, showing support for Palestinian organizations, mainly during the Second Intifada. The most prominent such case involved cousins Ibrahim and Yassin Bakri, residents of the Galilee village. They were convicted in 2004 of serving as accomplices in the murder of 9 egged bus passengers in a suicide bombing. This is crazy, and it never stops. But we've got a report on what's going on in the Middle East. It's just part of what's going on in the world of Peace News. Until next time, we'll be back Sunday. Catch us at peacenews.com and derekj.me. Peace.